Are you paying hundreds or thousands of dollars a month for contractor software? Flume is the #1 new platform for builders and contractors. At just $25 a month, Flume has everything you need and nothing you don't. You can send estimates and invoices, organize your jobs, stocks, and projects, and manage your customers and payments all in one place. Best of all, you can get started for free with just your name and email at flumepay.com. Don't spend months setting up a new system for your business to grow. Get fully set up in just 5 minutes with Flume today.
Labor side, we actually started a in-house training program. So we're working on bringing up HVAC installers and service technicians, into the trades versus just trying to find people who are currently in the trades and bring them over. So we're trying to be proactive that way.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast, our regular discussion with building industry professionals. This is Fine Homebuilding contributing editor and production manager at TDS Custom Construction, Ian Schwan. Today, I'm joined by HVAC designer and operations manager at Cardinal Heating and Air Conditioning, Keith Ouimette. You can find the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast and the original Fine Homebuilding podcast at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. And leave feedback and ask questions there too. Keith, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I know we had a little technical difficulties here, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we got through it, powered through it, and Carrie's still with us, being very
Awesome.
patient as always.
Yep.
Keith, give us an overview of the background and the history of Cardinal Heating and Air Conditioning and some of the work that you've done as the operations manager to grow the company.
Yeah. So, I'll start with the company itself. So, Cardinal was founded in 1984 by my father, Rick Ouimette. He actually founded the company when I was 4 years old. Prior to that, though, just to give you a little background on my father, is my grandfather actually had a plumbing and heating company in Massachusetts. So, my dad grew up in the trades. He was a plumber and worked in HVAC out east until he went off to the Army, and then that's where he met my mom, and she convinced him, we're moving to Wisconsin and we're not going out east. So, here we are. But when we moved here, he worked for a couple other heating companies before he started up his own company in 1984. Started out as a one-man operation, one truck, working out of our single car garage. In our little ranch house in Sun Prairie. We've been here my entire life. But since 1984 to today, we just continued to grow. Currently, we're at about 125 employees doing HVAC, plumbing, and electric. So offering all three trades. Myself, I started when I was in high school, working for my dad in the summers and weekends and stuff like that. I mean, as a small company, it was, full-time grind for him. It never stopped. There was no weekends. He was always going. So, I still remember being little and my brother and I, going down to the shop when he finally was able to afford to rent out a shop. We'd go down there and help him organize stuff on the weekends, and it was just, it's fun. It was a lot of good memories there. But myself, I worked through school and then ultimately got to senior year in high school and didn't really know what I wanted to do. Didn't know if I wanted to go work for my dad, but I'm like, hey, let's give it a shot, and here I am still here after 25 years. But in my time here, I started out in HVAC, mainly new construction. That's what we were doing at the time, new construction and replacement type work. But over the years, I've moved through pretty much every position in the company, from service technician, duct cleaning. I managed our solar division that we opened up for quite a few years. Had good success with that. Moved into managing HVAC commercial projects, a lot of multifamily, projects that we're doing and restaurants and build outs and stuff like that. Became a certified building analyst through BPI a few years back. Really took an interest of understanding how the entire building or house functions, not just, from the HVAC side. So took a lot of interest in that, and I learned a lot from that. And it really helped me, as far as a contractor and even a designer in designing systems to work properly in houses. So that was a pretty cool thing. 2019, I became the sales manager here. As we continue to grow, we actually needed to have a full-time sales crew versus just, us being out in the field, service technicians, selling and stuff like that. So I took over as a sales manager in 2019. Then around 2021, I transitioned into the operations manager. So kind of overseeing a lot of the day-to-day stuff. And currently I'm actually the COO of Cardinal. So we've actually moved. I have another operations manager just sitting in my spot. So I'm kind of more on the business side, still looking at the day-to-day, but my biggest responsibilities now are the profit loss and just making sure that, we can continue to grow and be profitable and, provide as much as we can for our employees and our customers. So, yeah.
But what was the impetus for growing into the other trades? Your dad and the company as a whole had a background in HVAC and some plumbing, but why move into the electrical and solar space? Was it just pure growth motivation to do that?
So really the solar kind of happened because my dad's background and then mine and my brother's background is pretty big in hydronics. We're doing a lot with boilers and hot water heat. And so we got introduced to solar thermal, quite a few years ago. And it's like, it just made sense. It's like, hey, we have an alternate source for heating hot water that can heat your house, your domestic hot water. So we jumped in with both feet into that, and it really took off for us. I mean, when what year was it? 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there. It was really booming solar thermal in Wisconsin. And we were one of the top 3 contractors actually in the state, growing really fast. And, with that and as fast as we were growing, it's like, hey, tying into domestic hot water systems and stuff like that, we should really bring on a plumber. So we did. We brought on a plumber and it just kind of started evolving from there because really we had a really good customer base. And once our customers started finding out that we do plumbing, well, it just kind of naturally happened. They just started calling us saying, hey, we love everything that you've done for us on HVAC. We want you to do our plumbing as well. So that just continued to grow. Right around the 2008 time when kind of the residential new construction and everything was dying off, is when we decided we're going to grow instead of kind of go away with some of the other companies. We're not going to stick to just the residential new construction. We're going to do some different things. So that's when we actually got into some of the commercial new construction, multifamily. But really, we started to develop our service department, residential replacement department, and continued to grow that. And that's kind of where the electrical side comes in, because with all the replacement stuff that we were doing, we're always subbing out electricians to do that work. And it's like, it got to be the point where it's like, we're paying out enough and subbing someone. Why don't we just bring our own on? So we did that, and kind of the same thing that happened with plumbing is customers found out that we do electric, and it just grew like crazy. So, and currently, our electrical department is probably our fastest growing department right now because it's our newest department. It's probably only about 4 years old right now, but, we went from 4 years ago having 1 electrician to today we have 14, which is just crazy to think about, but it's like, we still don't have enough, there's still so much work out there that we could use more. But yeah, that's kind of how all that happened, how that evolved.
So what's your customer base look like? You do a lot of work for company I work for, TDS, and
Yeah.
medium-sized contractor, but you also do a lot of work directly for homeowners as well, right?
Correct.
What's the mix between homeowners and contractors?
So really, it's about 90% with strictly homeowners. We kind of made that transition. Oh, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Started going more towards just the home service type stuff and working with the end users. And we're still working with TDS because there's certain contractors that we feel are super important to us and had the customer's best interest at mind versus a lot of the other general contractors out there. Kind of one of the things that we didn't like about the whole new construction working with general contractors is we never got to build that relationship with the end user. It was always, this is what we're putting in this house. What's your lowest price? It's like, that's, that worked for some time, but it's like, that's not the best for the customer, and it's like too many times it's like after a new house was done, you get the phone calls about, well, this isn't working properly. And it's like, yeah, there's other things that need to be done or addressed, to make that work properly and to be completely comfortable. So it's like, that's when we started, we really want to work with the homeowners and work with companies like you guys at TDS, because we're involved from the very beginning. We're able to do the design and meet with the homeowners and kind of, get their take on what are you looking for? What do you want? We can give you all the options in the world, but the most important option is whatever it is you want. We just want to make sure that, we're giving you the best for the money that you're spending. So
That's something that I've heard echoed from many HVAC contractors is when they get into some of these projects, if they're beholden to an architect or an MEP engineer or a general contractor, it's the HVAC guy that gets the phone call on Christmas Eve when the furnace stops working. It's not the GC, right? So you're a little bit more beholden to the client than really anybody on a project, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So from your perspective as a HVAC designer and the work you did at BPI, talk us through the differences between the types of systems that you install and what is the approach that you take to determine what's right for an individual home or a commercial project?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's lots of different types of systems that we work with. Most common being your standard gas forced air furnace, and condenser AC unit that sits outside. But we do a lot more with, at least recently in the last couple of years, with air source heat pumps is kind of the up and coming thing. It's not a new technology. It's been around for a long time, but the technology is getting better. So you're seeing a lot more of that coming back into our market. We do a lot of stuff with ductless splits. I think you've had Maria on before from Mitsubishi.
Yep.
We work with Mitsubishi quite a bit with their systems. I mentioned before we do hydronic systems, so hot water heat, in-floor radiant radiators. I mean, in my opinion, it's the most comfortable type of heat there is, hands down. Might not always be the most economical, but definitely the most comfortable.
I've been present when your dad's waxed poetically about radiators to clients and why you don't want to touch that thing. Leave that there.
Absolutely.
We'll reconnect it. You don't want to mess with that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that we like to do too, is just go in and talk to and educate, the homeowners on what to expect. I mean, there's a lot of contractors that will go in there and say, absolutely, rip that stuff out. Let's put in forced air. And it's like, you're going to hate me when we're done because you're so used to that even warm heat that when all of a sudden you've got this cold draft blowing, across your house, you're just going to hate me. And it's like, we always tell people that too. It's like, hey, we just want you to know up front, this is what's going to happen because I don't want you to hate me. I don't want to, tarnish our relationship. So we try to educate him on that. So that's why you'll hear him talk about that often. But yeah, some of the other systems that we work with, geothermal is always a popular system. It's hit and miss as far as how often we do it, but we work quite a bit with it. Water source heat pumps. Typically, we see more of this stuff in like the high rise type apartment condo type buildings. and then lots of humidification, dehumidification systems. So you see a lot of that stuff. But with any of these systems, I mean, ultimately, everything starts with a load calculation. So when we go into a house, we want to have a conversation with the homeowner, do a load calc so that we know exactly what they're going to need for their system in their house. That's one of the most important things. And then we have the conversation with the homeowner about, what are they looking for? Is it cost, just low cost that you're looking for, high efficiency, the green energy technologies that are out there, or just comfort. Don't care what it costs. I just want the best comfort, So obviously we get into a lot of different things. Likewise, so do you guys. So like for new homes, these conversations can sometimes be a little bit different, but it's the best time to start during the design, because we can really control then a lot of things about the indoor environment if we can actually be part of the conversation when they're designing the shell of the home and stuff like that. A properly designed house, we can get away with a lot smaller equipment inside and definitely a lot more efficient.
Are you relying on the old school manual J method for coming up with these load calculations, or do you have anything new that you would have gotten through BPI that you're using for some, especially new construction?
Yeah, so no, we're still using the old manual J. It's the most tried and true thing there is. Obviously, if we're getting into a situation where, let's say, the house has had an energy audit done, that's definitely helpful to us, because with manual J, it's built with some buffers in there. So it's not, it's always going to try and build the system probably a little bit bigger than what you actually need, just to, ensure that the system will work. If there is an energy audit that's done where we can get that report back, we can build that into the program so we can actually see, okay, this is going to be more accurate now. We know what the infiltration is. We know what the R values are for sure in the walls and all of that stuff. So that definitely helps us more fine tune that system, to get greater comfort and higher efficiency.
Do you think HVAC designers get a bad rap for building too big of systems, relying on the buffers in manual J?
Sometimes, but I think it's gotten a lot better versus what it was in years past. Versus, I mean, I got into the trades in the 1990s, and what we started seeing then is, is being a lot more strict on actually doing load calcs on houses and stuff like that, versus the old days. It's they had their chart where they stand across the street and they look at it, and okay, if it's in this box, it's a 100,000 BTU system that goes in that house. And we still see a lot of that today. It's like way oversized equipment, so it's one of the things that we face too when we go into a house and say, okay, well, your new furnace only has to be half the size. Well, that can't be right. How can that work? I've had this system in here for this long, and that can't be right. But it's like, it was never done properly years and years ago. So I can't say that, by us doing a manual J, we've had too much come back on us. It's one of the things that I don't think enough contractors are doing, especially in the retrofit market. New construction, obviously, it has to be done to pull a permit. But when you're talking about going into a house and just doing, whether it's a remodel or if it's just a full system replacement, most contractors won't do a manual J. So really they're guessing. They're taking their best guess, or they're just putting back in what you already have, which isn't, always most beneficial to the customer. So,
yeah, I think where we see some of the most challenging work that we do with Cardinal is in when we're putting a large addition on an older city home, and it becomes that decision of, well, how much are you opening the house up to connect it to this addition? How new is the existing equipment? And we've gone many different ways with you guys on whether or not we just add on another furnace, do an air source heat pump, do a whole new system. And there never seems to be a cookie cutter easy answer to those issues.
Right. Absolutely.
What other challenges do mechanical contractors like Cardinal that provide a wide range of services have? And what are you doing to combat these challenges as you try and grow with an eye toward your profit?
I mean, just thinking about some of the biggest challenges we have now, labor shortages, probably the biggest challenge. And that goes across all trades, not even the trades. I mean, the whole entire workforce, I think, is battling the whole labor shortage right now. Secondly, for us would probably be trucks, just being able to get trucks. With a fast growing company, just trying to be able to buy the trucks to get the guys in, man, it's a challenge. It's getting better, but it's been a challenge for the past couple of years. So we've had many orders through GM get canceled on us, like months before our trucks are supposed to show up. So, had to be creative there. And then, close third to that is probably product shortage. But we've seen that, get a lot better. And one of the ways, to talk about how we're combating that is labor side. We actually started a in-house training program. So we're working on bringing up HVAC installers and service technicians, into the trades versus just trying to find people who are currently in the trades and bring them over. So we're trying to be proactive that way. For product shortages, we've just had to stock a lot more. Which it doesn't always look good on the profit loss that we have all this in stock, but we want to make sure that we have the product when we need it. And we're constantly monitoring that, but we also choose our vendors, working with the vendors that we know keep a good stock and are transparent with us so that we know, if there's going to be some challenges coming so that we can prepare ourselves.
One of the interesting things I heard from your dad right in the middle of COVID supply chain issues was you guys went in and cleaned out the shop and put a bunch of stuff on different social media channels. And he was telling me, he's like, I got this guy in Texas that he's got this valve that I need. And I got a line set from a Mitsubishi unit. We're going to swap them. And I'll get that valve for you.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting that companies were having to go to that route.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and absolutely. I mean, you got to get creative. It was with COVID, it was new for all of us, right? So, I mean, it really changed how all of us operate business. So, there's some positive things that came out of it. We learned a lot, and we've changed a lot, and hopefully, if anything like this were ever happened again, we're prepared for it. So yeah, I mean, and then another thing is, fortunately for us, we're part of a larger organization that's nationwide. So we are always communicating with other contractors across the entire country. And we work with business coaches and stuff like that. So, we have that network of other contractors that aren't directly competing with us, that are completely open and transparent. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'll often get messages from guys like, hey, I don't have this furnace. Does anybody have this furnace? I'm willing to buy it and have it shipped here. So it's like, it's an awesome network to be part of, because guys will, they'll give you the shirt off their back, so it's really awesome to see.
So training is a major topic all across every trade that's out there. So,
yeah.
So you mentioned the training program that you started at Cardinal, and that's a huge topic across all trades. Tell us about the program and what you do for your employees.
Yeah. So, we recently started just less than a year ago, Cardinal University. The whole training program has been talked about for years. And, with COVID and everything that happened and just the issues with the labor force right now, we finally just said, enough talking, we need to take action. So a little over a year ago, we actually hired our first full-time trainer, and we got to work on developing the program. And really the whole intent of this program is to be able to take, somebody who knows little to nothing about the trades, teach them, educate them, get them actually hands-on experience, in our training laboratory, and then get them out in the field, in 5 months. So it's been really successful. We're actually in our second semester right now. So every semester we're learning more and more about what we need to do for the next one. The class sizes keep on growing. It's really gained momentum in just outside people hearing about it. I mean, we really haven't advertised it, but we're in with a couple different school districts and stuff like that that are moving kids in this direction. And man, we get so many applications now that we can't take them all. So it's an awesome thing. So actually, since we hired the first trainer, who's been here for about a year and a half, recently we hired two more. And kind of what I was talking about before with the network of contractors that we work with, another contractor as part of our network, they actually started a training program a couple of years ago. So I've really leaned on them and learned a lot from them. And I know one of the things that they said that they were doing is they actually hired teachers, people who know how to actually deliver material in a classroom setting. So our two new trainers that we have, one's already started, the other will start in June, are both teachers. One came from an elementary school, the other one was in a middle school. So they're super excited to actually be, still teaching, but just a little bit different atmosphere. So we're like I said before, when we were jumping in with 2 feet, we're really planning on growing this thing to be able to bring that next generation up and continue to grow our business. But with that being said, too, we're only doing HVAC right now. The plans is to actually add plumbing and electrical in the next couple of years. So that'll be pretty awesome once we're able to do that. A little bit more challenging than HVAC because there's some licensing regulations and stuff in Wisconsin that's not easy to get around. So, just working with the state and stuff on that, how do we get the guys to where they need to be so they can get their licensing and all that is what we're working on right now.
So how are you setting up the schooling? Because I took a formalized carpentry apprenticeship, and in that I had school 4 times a year for a week at a crack.
Yep.
And we focused on different topics, and then we were in the field working the rest of the time. Is it something similar, or are you doing 1 day a week with everybody? How do you have that structured?
So it's actually structured right now where when they start, they're full-time in the classroom. And we know that, going in, they don't want to be in the classroom full-time, right? So we break things up, and they may do half days in the classroom, and then the other half day, we have a full laboratory of working equipment. So I want to say we've got no less than 12 to 13 pieces of equipment in that laboratory. So, maybe the second half of the day, they're actually working on equipment, constantly changing things up so they don't get bored, sitting there. Cause I hated sitting in the classroom. I wanted to be out there working, with my hands. So that's just, we understand that. So we are doing that. And then as they start to progress through the class, then we start to actually transition them into the field. So maybe once or twice a week, they're actually going out with install crews or service technicians and just kind of, getting an idea of what they do on a daily basis, and then as they get further into the program is when we'll actually have a service technician or an installer kind of mentor them and start allowing them to actually do the stuff and make sure that, they are capturing everything that we're teaching in the class and making sure that they're going to be ready for the time when we kind of release them.
So what's the timeline from when somebody comes to you, either through a local school or just off the street wanting to learn the trade? What's the timeline through the class? And then are there other steps that they take in their field training to get them up to be a full GM van driving tech for you?
Yeah. So the class itself is 5 months. So once they're through their class, they kind of go into a probation period where they're riding with a technician or they're riding along with an installer. And then it's just kind of monitored, and it's up to the department manager, are they ready? Are they ready to be on their own? And typically from like a service technician standpoint, they may not be a technician that goes out and diagnoses stuff, but definitely the next step would be moving them into like a maintenance tech. So a maintenance technician is going to go out there and just do tune-ups on equipment. We have a large member base that gets their equipment tuned up every single year. So it's like, chances of anything being wrong or having to diagnose anything, it happens from time to time. But since they do such a good job maintaining their equipment, it's not as frequent. So they are able to go out there and just clean the equipment, get more familiar with the equipment, and occasionally do some diagnostics. And then, with the installers, again, just monitoring them and letting them kind of take the lead every now and then to see where they're at. And then from there, each person's going to probably move up at a different rate, which is normal. And when they're ready, their manager will have a conversation with us and we'll move them into a truck on their own.
So how has this program benefited Cardinal as a company as well as your staff as a whole, outside of the obvious, everybody needs tradespeople? There's got to be some other benefits that are getting you to think about scaling it up.
Well, it's definitely helped us, with growing our technicians and installers a little bit quicker, versus hiring from the outside, which doesn't always work out. Sometimes, you've got somebody with experience, but they also come with bad habits. So it's like the nice thing is, we look back at, from when I started, my brother started, Tim, who's our actual operations manager, we all started around the same time, right out of high school. And it's like, we don't know any different. This is the way we've always known it. We've continued to grow the business. Now the three of us are actually operating the business. So it's like, why don't we just do that again? Why don't we just bring the guys on, teach them the proper way to do it versus trying to change somebody's old bad habits, So it's helped us grow that way. Besides that, it allows everyone to be on the same page. Everyone's learning the same material. Everyone's doing the job the same way. So it's easy to coach then. It's easy to hold people accountable then. It makes sure that, the customer is actually being taken care of the right way and they're getting everything that they pay for. And then just, it's just super beneficial, to the company to be able to do this. And again, more importantly, for the customer, to have a well-educated workforce. And believe me, the whole education piece, training piece is not cheap. It's very expensive thing to do. So, for you really have to watch your numbers when you're doing this, because it is expensive. But to me, I'd rather have a well-educated, more expensive contractor in my house versus someone who's or a company that doesn't do any education for their installers or technicians, and somebody who's learning at my house. I don't want that. We want to teach them before they come to your house. So.
Yeah, not to mention onboarding a very high wage mercenary who's worked at 10 different HVAC companies isn't cheap either, right?
Right. Absolutely.
So where do you see the future of the mechanical trades heading? We get a lot of people writing into our regular podcast that they're, why do they do this in Europe and we don't do it here? Well, what about this piece of equipment from the commercial world? Can we somehow involve that in a house? Or things like geothermal? And I think some people hear about stuff and they don't necessarily realize that it's not a good fit. They just hear that it's a new exciting technology. So how do you navigate some of those interactions and what's coming down the line from manufacturers that you're excited about and can't wait to get your hands on?
Well, yeah, with that being said, I mean, the United States market does kind of model what they're doing over in Europe. Obviously in Europe, the utility costs are way higher than what they are here. So they're way ahead of where we are, and they have to be. just to keep costs down. But we use some of their technology here now, but things operate different here versus how they operate over there. So it's like even some of the ways that they control. Well, here's a prime example. We do a lot with Wiesmann boilers. Okay, Wiesmann is a German manufacturer. Over there, their boilers is almost like a refrigerator in your house. It's out in the open. You see it. So they don't typically have thermostats. The thermostat is the boiler. You walk over to the boiler to turn the temperature up. That's not how we live here, So when we're looking at their products that they have over here, and we have to, incorporate them into our market, we have to, for lack of better words, Americanize, their systems. They've got really good systems, but we need to be able to make them work here. Our fuel here is a little bit different, versus what they're using. So it's just making sure, both the altitude and the fuel and everything works properly over here. So, we do take a lot of their technologies. I talked about Wiesmann. Another one is Mitsubishi. Obviously we do a lot with Mitsubishi as well. And they've got awesome stuff, and they continue to get better and better. And I would expect that to continue to happen. When you're talking about some of the new stuff coming down the line, let's talk about heat pumps, for example. I mean, an air source heat pump now, with the actual efficiency that you can get out operating at way below zero, is just amazing. It's really awesome technology. So it's going to continue to get better, and with utility prices, gas prices, if they continue to rise here, I think you're going to see more of that stuff, and it's going to be more about efficiency and not only on the gas side, but the electric side. So yeah, it'll continue to get better. There's definitely some really cool stuff coming.
I think one of the things that people forget about, especially you mentioned Germany, where those boilers are from, what's the coldest winter day they get in Germany? 20 degrees Fahrenheit, 25 degrees Fahrenheit versus minus 25 degrees here.
Right.
You've got a 40 or 50 degree Fahrenheit temperature swing between your design temps. So that has to play into your choices as a HVAC designer as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So are there any myths that you continuously hear about mechanical contractors and HVAC systems that you want to debunk for us here?
Man, I had to think about this one, but I guess probably the biggest myth, and maybe we hear quite often, is trades as a whole, and that trades is kind of a fallback career, and it's kind of your secondary option if you don't go to college. And I just want to say that couldn't be any more false. We've got guys here making way more than a 4-year degree graduate. So there's good opportunities in the trades, and I think it's only going to continue to get better. Kind of one of the things I was talking about before with the labor force is one of the things that we're experiencing in the trades is, it was big with baby boomers. It was flooded with baby boomers, and they're all getting to that retirement age. So, I don't know what the actual number is right now, but the actual people leaving the trades, the older generation leaving the trades, so actually new coming in, it's way higher leaving than they are coming in, so huge opportunities for advancement, in a very short time for people that are getting into the trades and do what they can to educate themselves and move themselves. So it's not a place where you can just sit back and grow. I mean, it's a career that you have to work hard at, with any career you have to, but it's really rewarding when you do.
Yeah, there's a high top end when you're a HVAC tech or a refrigeration tech that I don't think most people realize. It's not being put out in front of them at an early age. But I think it's great that you have a training program that brings those people in and teaches them your systems and gets them on the same page with people. I remember very early on in my apprenticeship, one of the things that really opened my eyes to the top end of just being a carpenter was the, older full journeyman running jobs payday. We're, sitting there having a beer after work, and he slid me over his check and he said, you stick with this. And, in 4 years, you can probably add 10% to that check, and that's where you'll be at. And it was, I'm like, wow, I gotta keep going at this and work hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. One thing that my dad always told me, growing up, he's like, hey, whatever you want to do, just know that, what I do being in the trades, he goes, I'll never be the richest, but I'll never go hungry. Right. Yep. So I never forgot that. I mean, he told me that when I was a little kid. But, still times have changed. And I think, there's bigger opportunities now for people in the trades than there ever were. It's a definitely good time to get into the trades.
So tell us about the house that you live in. Have you done any work to it? And what kind of HVAC system do you have in your house?
Yeah. So I'm on my third house now, because the first two houses I bought, existing houses, fixed them up to be as energy efficient as possible. And then I'm like, okay, that was fun and everything, but I've got a couple kids now. I don't have time for that. So we actually, in 2013, we built a house, and I decided to general it myself. I don't recommend that to anybody. There's definitely not. If it's not something you're doing every single day, oh my gosh, there's a lot more to it than what you think. So I paid for it and a little extra time to actually put the house together. But no, I mean, knowing what I knew from, being a building analyst and stuff like that, I wanted to tackle this myself and make sure that it was put together right. So for me, the insulation, the air sealing was an absolute must. And I spent extra time on that to making sure it was right, because I knew that if we get all that right, the actual HVAC system won't have to be as big. It's going to be more energy efficient. It's going to cost us less, to operate that system. So that's what I really focused on. The systems that I have in my house, I've actually got a multiple systems, just because it's also my testing laboratory at home. That's where we learn what works, what doesn't work. So I've got a fully modulating furnace, communicating controls, high SEER 2-stage AC outside. And then I have a hydronic system. So I've got in-floor radiant in my basement. We have it in our bathrooms. We have it in our garage, and we have it in a bonus room above our garage. So, just trying to, again, building my own laboratory. I know from my experience what works really well. But even having it in my own house and living with it is helped me actually set things up better in other people's houses. Just seeing different control settings, like how it affects the system, what happens. I mean, when I first had the in-floor system in there, we would overshoot sometimes, and it would get too hot in the basement. My wife called me during the day. It's like, it's really hot down here. So just learning from that and making some adjustments. So it's like, that helps me now when I go into someone's house and we're setting things up. This is where we need to be, So, I mean, there's talks of actually adding some additional systems, changing out. I mean, that's one of the advantages. I can work with manufacturers and they give me a little bit of break on, trying out new systems in our house. So probably what I'm going to be doing here in the next couple of years is swapping out that AC for an air source heat pump, and seeing how all that works and getting that thing dialed in. So.
Well, it's been great having you on the show, Keith. Is there anything else you want to tell or ask our audience before we sign off?
I mean, my pleasure. I'm glad you asked me. And, I guess before I sign off, the only thing I'd say is, when it comes to mechanical systems, and contractors, just do your research. The guy that offers the lowest price every time isn't always the best for you guys as a contractor or the customer. So, do your research and, just make sure whoever you're using is knowledgeable and know what they're talking about.
Great advice. But Keith, thanks for taking the time to join me today, and thanks to everybody for listening. Please remember to send us your comments, questions, and suggestions fhbpodcast@taunton.com. Please like, comment, or review us wherever you're listening. Helps others find the podcast. Thanks again, everybody.